The Arch at Easton Neston, Northamptonshire, and the stable yard where more than 25 years ago Hesketh Racing launched the career of a future world champion, Britain's James Hunt. Well, at one time this was as familiar a landmark in British motor racing as Woodcote or Stowe. Well, it's British Grand Prix week once again, and Motormouth has come here to Easton Neston to talk to Lord Hesketh, who's now chairman of the British Racing Drivers Club. We're also at Le Mans, the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and we've got the latest from the Mobile One British Rally Championship. But first of all, from one bit of history to another very welcome bit of history from Britain's Mark Blundell.
Hi, this is Mark Blundell talking to you from the USA. We've had some highs and some lows since the Rio race. Street courses, short ovals, road courses. We nearly won in Detroit, 50 feet from the line, out of fuel. Low. Massive high, Portland race, won it by 27 thousandths of a second. Incredible.
2 weeks ago, Mark Blundell, occasional Motormouth IndyCar correspondent, wrote the headlines and the history himself. An extraordinary first victory in the PPG kart series by the closest margin that IndyCar racing has ever seen. On the last lap on the Portland Road Circuit in Oregon, it's Blundell in the second place, Reynard Mercedes chasing and harrying race leader Gilles de Ferran. A race which had been run in wet and then drying conditions. The crucial decision for Blundell was a change to slick tyres that allowed him to charge up from 6th place in the last 10 laps. But it still seemed to be Gilles de Ferran in control of the situation into the last few corners. But Blundell's tyres were giving him a big advantage. De Ferran with a lot of wheel spin off the last corner. Blundell seizes opportunity, and with Raoul Boesel in close attendance as well, Blundell times his run to absolute perfection. Victory by 0.027 of a second. His pit crew reacted immediately. It took a while, though, for Blundell to grasp and realize the fact that he'd won at last. But he certainly knows now.
History in the making. It's been fantastic. Watch me on Motormouth. See you soon.
Lord Hesketh, now as chairman of the BRDC, what do you see as the future of the British Grand Prix, given the environmental pressures, potential tobacco legislation and so on?
Well, I think that there is a question mark, and it's really a question at the current time of the government taking a pragmatic point of view about what the truth is, because the reality is that if the British Grand Prix moves because tobacco advertising is banned, will that prevent those cars covered in tobacco advertising not appearing on a television screen? And the reality is that with the advent of satellite television, it will make no difference whatsoever. And I think that in the light of that, one has to be practical and say, do we want to see a slow, it will take 5 to 10 years, complete maneuver of an industry which we are world leaders in, out of this country to another part of the planet. It won't happen overnight, but I think it's something which I'm very confident that when the facts are looked at, the detail is looked at, I'm sure that the government will look at what the reality is in achieving what they want from a health point of view, and avoiding posturing which will be bad for something which this country is uniquely good at.
But if the market forces do draw such a figurehead event away from Britain, how dependent is the British motor racing industry, the British motor racing public, the BRDC, on the existence of the British Grand Prix?
Well, I think it would be foolish for anyone to say that it is anything but true that the reality is that FOCA and the Formula One industry is the fountainhead out of which the whole of the rest of British motorsport, to a lesser or greater extent, benefits, be it from technology, infrastructure, cost bases which are picked up that would not be affordable otherwise.
It's changed so much, hasn't it, in the last 25 years? We've now got Formula One heading to the stock market. What is the most striking contrast in your mind?
Well, I suppose in this very room 25 years ago, sitting with Graham Hill, Jochen Rindt, thinking about whether it was going to be worth getting to the Grand Prix any time before 11 o'clock in the morning, and going by car. Now,
as a participant?
Yes, as a participant. I remember the first time we went by helicopter, and I had Graham and Jackie Stewart in it, and we arrived over Silverstone. In those days, there were only about 4 helicopters going there, and the man in the control tower, well, control tower, the little cabin, said, it's too late, you can't land. And I said, well, we've got 2 of the competitors. That doesn't make any difference. So we just went down anyway. So it is a transformed world. Some for the better, and some for maybe not the better. But there you go. We've got to live
What
with
is
it.
the downside of it, do you think?
I think the downside is that it's a lot less intimate than it was. I mean, I remember when I could go there, as could any other member of the public. You bought a paddock pass, and there wasn't any tarmac, and it was cinders, and you stood with your shoes under the nose of a BRM. That is no longer possible. It's no longer possible for all sorts of reasons, many of which are fully understandable. But that's the bit that's gone. But it's gone.
Here at stately Goodwood House, Lord March has gathered the most amazing collection of motorsport machinery. Some, like the one behind me, not so old, but the rest of them represent virtually the entire history of motor racing.
In historical and emotional terms, the most significant car was the mighty Auto Union Bergwagen, the special hill climb version of the revolutionary rear-engine V16 supercharged machines which battled the other silver arrows of Mercedes-Benz during the golden age of motor racing from 1934 until 1939.
Nach 25 Sekunden, weiter!
Germany's Titan teams also dominated European hill climb competition, and the undisputed king of the mountains was Auto Union's Hans Stuck. And now here's the son of the man you've just seen driving this extraordinary machine, Hans Stuck Jr.,